I'm Lauren Mazza. I work at Gore Salon in Irmo, South Carolina. I've been in the beauty industry for approximately 5 years now. Today I am doing my video and I'm going to talk about a few different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is why I'm choosing Redken. Next we're going to go into our balayage to ombre technique, and we're actually going to go over your tools and techniques needed. We're also going to go through pre and post treatments, as well as styling with your tools and products. Why Redken? I've chosen Redken partially because they are cutting edge and fashion forward. Being based in New York City, they do keep up with the trends on the streets, as well as having Guido as a consultant on the runways behind the Redken name. The next reason is going to be their vision. Their vision is actually to help every salon professional learn better, earn better, and live better. Redken has a very unique approach to innovative and inspiring education. Every time I go to a show, I come home eager to learn more. I'm ready to go back to the next one. I want to learn the new techniques and share with all my clients. And finally, they actually teach you to add value to your work. So it lets you customize look for yourself and your clients. It's actually going to set me aside from all of the other salon professionals in the industry and make myself have a unique look. The next thing we're going to go over are our pre-treatments. Before you do any color service with the Redken color line, you actually want to start with a pre-treatment. Pre-art is actually the best option. The benefits of pre-art actually remove buildup as far as minerals and oil that could have possibly been on the hair, as well as product buildup. You want to remove those so the color can take properly. You want to get the maximum effect that Redken offers. Also, it equalizes the porosity of the hair. You want to make sure you're starting with a clean canvas. The how-to, you're actually going to apply this to damp hair. So you want to wet the hair down just a little bit. You don't want it to be absolutely soaking wet. If you do get it soaking wet, just blot it with a towel. Next, you're going to leave it in for approximately 5 to 10 minutes. Now, this is the bottle that it actually comes in. I use the little ChemShot treatment bottle. I pour it in there and actually saturate the hair really well. After sitting for 5 to 10 minutes, you're not going to rinse it out. You're actually going to apply the hair cleansing cream, shown in this white bottle here, directly on top of it, and you want to lather it very well, get it worked in there, and then you're going to rinse it thoroughly. Make sure you have all the product out of the hair. Ombre and balayage are techniques that's going to move us away from our full head full clients, more into a natural regrowth for them. So you're not going to apply 100 folds in the head. You're actually going to have a more natural regrowth, and it's going to grow out looking very pretty. The tools that I've actually chosen to use for my balayage and ombre is my foiling comb, definitely towels. I use actually an angled brush for the top for the balayage portion, and then I go to my 1-inch brush to actually do my ombre so I can saturate the ends better. I need gloves. I use a foiling board, and of course you're going to need clips. This is Redken's foiling board. It actually has a rounded shape at the top, so it does fit the head nicely. Another option is going to be your balayage paddle board. Redken's actually come out with these as well. I do use these occasionally, but I do prefer a foiling board when I am doing ombre with the balayage. There's also a few other types of brushes they use. They have a good many choices. This is going to be just your regular color brush. This brush right here I actually use a lot for new growth when I'm doing a root touch-up. It's not very long and it's wide, so it's going to get your width coverage, and you're going to get not such a long stroke up the hairline, so it's not going to overlap. And this is actually a smaller, about half the size of this brush is this. This is also for root touch-ups. It's very good for the hairline down here when someone doesn't have a wide sideburn area. While we're on the subject of brushes, there's also the Chromatics brush. This actually has 3 rows of bristles. Chromatics is actually an oil delivery system. So with the oil delivery system, you're actually going to need a thicker brush to saturate the hair better so you can get better coverage. They do come in the regular size brush and a smaller size brush, so you can get around those hard areas as well. Also, instead of using the angle brush, some people do prefer to use the Redken Blur brush. This actually came out about a year ago. It is like a little blush brush. It is better, it doesn't shed, and it is very soft, so it does help blend the color and give it a softer color melting look. Okay, next we're going to talk about the techniques that I'm actually going to show you today. So these are 4 techniques that I actually choose personally to use. There are thousands of different techniques to use, but these are the 4 that I typically work with on a day-to-day basis. Number 1, the first thing I always try to remember is you need to unload your brush and then do your sweeping motion. So as you can see here, I actually do my sweeping motion up here, and I'm going to get heavier towards the bottom of each section so I can get that ombre effect, because I am wanting to go from a very light highlight look into a very heavy blonde at the bottom. The next one I actually would use around the perimeter of the hair. You want to cover a little bit more. You could also use this to go up to the part line. This will give you a little more coverage. 4 is just the complete opposite. I would use that actually on the left side of the head, where I would use 2 typically on the right side in the back. On the front, I would use 4 on the left and 2 on the right. Number 3, this does go all the way up to your to the new growth. So you're going to actually unload your brush here, and you're going to do a sweeping motion up this way, and as the other ones are, it is going to be heavier on the bottom. I typically take 1 to 2 inch sections. That's what I'm going to be doing today. It does depend on the density of the hair, the texture of the hair, all of that fun stuff that you normally would take into consideration when you full someone or do any other color service. I am going to do the sweeping motion towards the top, as we talked about before, and I'm actually going to saturate the ends, like I've said before, to get that ombre look. So as you see here, I've actually ombre balayaged the back of my mannequin just to show you a little peek of what we're working towards. So as you can see here, make my mannequin back a little bit. How this is a light highlight going down, and you're going to see a little bit of a heavier change to more of a blonde. I did keep hers a little more subtle because she came into me and said she didn't want anything drastic. You can tell right here, this is actually technique number 1. You can actually see the V where it comes down and it gets heavier as we go down. The next thing I'm going to show you is actually how I got this look. Okay, so now I'm going to actually demonstrate how I actually part for my balayage ombre. I do, for her, I do want to do down her part line. I want this to lay where she parts her hair on top. Some people flip-flop, so therefore I would actually take out the center section and do that together, and then do the sides separate. In this case, I am going to go by her part line, like I said. The first thing you want to make sure is that you have very clean sectioning. If your sections are not clean, if your part line's not clean, it's not going to look good. The first thing I'm going to show you, and I'm not going to apply product right now, I'm actually just going to show you how I take my sectionings. Like I said, I'm going to do 1 to 2 inch sections. So I'm actually going to take diagonal. I want this to be as natural as possible. And that is actually a little bit bigger than I want it to be. So with this being a diagonal section, I'm going to clip this out of my way, make sure there's no hair hanging down. I'm going to pull this back. Now I do take triangle sections when I do my balayage, so I'm actually going to do a little triangle. And then I will actually pull this back, lay my folding board. It's okay. I'm going to lay this back and actually place my folding board underneath and perform the technique. Once you're finished putting the lightener on the hair, you're actually going to lay it down softly because you don't use spools typically during this. And I'm going to go mix my color and we'll be back. I'm actually going to demonstrate now with the lightener how I perform my balayage ombre. I'm going to actually use Flash Lift. It is great for freehand techniques. Redken does actually recommend that. It does have maximum power, conditioning provitamin in it for high lift without damaging the integrity of the hair. And Redken is a firm believer in saving the integrity of the hair, so I do highly recommend using this product. So next I'm actually going to take my first diagonal section. I'm going to do about 1 inch, and it's going to be a clean section. We're going to diagonal, and we're going to pull the hair away from the face. Make sure I've got this clean, and we're going to clip this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to take my first triangle, and the first technique I'm going to actually perform, I'm going to put a folding board under here. Now you want to make sure you actually keep the hair tension tight, because you don't want it to get loose and it's going to look messy and it's not going to be a pretty even melt. So I'm going to take my angle brush first. I'm actually going to dip it in just a little bit. You don't want to put too much product on there. I'm going to start further down the hair strand, and then I'm going to actually work my way up to the scalp. You want to unload the heavier part of the product first before going to the scalp. You don't want any bleeding marks. So I'm actually going to put this here. And I'm doing this one around the face. Most people, when they want blonde, even if they don't want to be blonde all over, they do want to see it around their face. Okay. So now that I've gotten the color melting part down, I'm actually going to set my brush on top of my bowl. Because you don't want a messy situation going on. You don't want too much product on your brush. It's just not a good outcome. So then I'm actually going to take my 1 inch brush. I'm just going to put a little bit of product on it, and I'm going to finish the ends and make sure it's saturated really well, because with ombre you do want to have your coverage. I'm actually going to take my brush vertical and just blend that in together. Make sure you don't have any heavy spots of lightener on here. You do not want lines in your hair. You're just going to pull this down and lay it on top. Other people do use, there are many options for balayage. You can use cotton to separate the hair. Some people do use film. I believe they have wax paper out as well. I prefer just to lay the hair down, but it's definitely several different options for everyone. Use what you prefer and you're more comfortable with. Okay, so my next section, I'm going to take another triangle section out. And on this one, I'm actually going to do the V, because I still want to keep some light pieces around the face. Especially when people curl, they like to see the contrast in the hair. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to unload my brush a little away from the scalp. Work my way up to the top. I'm actually going to bring this down. It's going to work itself into a V naturally. Okay, now that I've actually got my balayage piece going, I'm going to take my 1 inch brush. I'm going to saturate the ends really well. Make sure there are no lines and extra product on those pieces. When you get to this kind of thing, this would be where you would use your blur brush and kind of blur that in just to give more of a color melt to it. Take that, set it on there. On my next section. Now, the further I get up the head, the more horizontal my partings are going to be. So that is okay. Okay, now I'm actually going to go back to the first technique I did. Let me get it. Sorry, I got to take my B section. I am going to grab a little piece of hair from the front, so I'm going to make this a little bit of a larger V. Like I said, to make sure we have some blonde around the face. And I'm going to go back to the first technique I did. Make sure you get up there. And make sure there is no extra product at the scalp. Like I said, you don't want it to bleed. So I'm just going to come down at an angle. And once again, you could use your blur brush around this area where you're going to melt from the natural color down to the lightener. Make sure you get a good blend. And saturate the ends. Make sure I turn my brush vertical, get all that extra product off. Make sure you get it good. A lot of people are going for full hipples, so this look, like I said before, it's much easier to maintain and a lot less work. Not putting 150 fulls in someone's hair. Alright, so now I'm getting to my wider sections here. Let me put my mannequin forward and actually show you. Okay, so here is the same thing when you full. It's going to be too wide, it's going to over direct. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this into 2 separate V's, and I'm going to do 2 different techniques on it. So I'm actually going to take this down the center. Do this one first. I'm going to do my V section. Pull this hair out of the way. When I say a V section, it literally looks like a triangle on the scalp. I'm going to take my folding board, lay it up here. Like I said, make sure your tension is tight, your hair is clean. I'm going to take my brush, and I'm actually going to do the opposite technique as I did the first time. I'm going to do it come down at an angle this way. Then I'm going to take my 1-inch brush and saturate my ends. Actually going to get a piece from the face again. From the face. Some people do apply lightener on the board before using it. It does help hold the hair. I choose not to do that just because it's not a preference of mine. Now I'm actually going to do the opposite on this side. And if you notice, I'm not bearing down really hard. I'm just doing a sweeping motion. Very light-handed hair painting or balayage. You'll hear it called different things. And saturate the ends. Get my product good and spread out. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to our next section. Once again, it's too wide, so I'm going to pull this back. Do 2 different sections. I'm going to do my other technique as well. I'm going to make sure my hair is clean. When you do apply lightener on the board, you do want to apply it at the bottom. You need to try to keep your board as clean as possible at top because we are working on the top of the hair. We're not saturating the balayage technique. You don't saturate through. It is literally a light sweeping motion. So we're going to do, I'm going to get on the center. I'm going to bring a little bit up the sides. Make sure I'm blended well. And finish it up, saturating the ends. Make sure my product's blended well. And drop. I'm going to take another triangle section, getting a little section of the hair in front, on the face. I'm going to lay my board here. hold tension. And I'm going to do the angling technique around here. A little more product. It's better to have to go get back and get more product out of your bowl instead of overloading it at first. Getting it to blend, if you have too much on there, it's going to be hard. If you feel like you have too much on your brush, wipe your brush off a little bit. And go back through. Notice I keep moving as I'm pulling the board out. It's just going to help be a smoother transition. Okay, now I'm to the top of the head. This is the most important part because this is actually what they're going to see. This is where I actually do the I do the V. It looks more natural, it looks better, clients love it. So I'm going to take my V section. I'm actually going to let my view. Make sure my hair is clean, pull it up. I'm gonna actually, all right, you see where I actually have there's product right here on the edge of the board. You wanna make sure you have a towel around, keep that clean. If not, you're gonna have bleeding and it's gonna work on the bottom of the hair and we are not working all the way through at the top and it will leave bleed marks. So I'm actually gonna pull this tight, hold it down, and this is where we're going to do my V sections and make sure you get good. Saturate the ends. Once we get to the other side, I'll actually demo on one of the sections how you could use a blur brush during this technique. Okay, I'm going to lay my brush up here. Go up here and get my next V section. I'm going to try to connect the two V's together, as well as getting some hair at the hairline in the front. Place my board. Got more product in there from that one, so I'm actually going to clean it off again. Make sure it's clean. And pull it really tight. I'm going to do the V as well on this side. Saturate the ends really well. Turn your brush vertical. You want to make sure you get all of this blended together. A little too much. Like I said, keep working your brush until the board is completely out from beneath it. All right. So now we're going to move to the next side. All right, moving on to the next side. Diagonal parting. Make sure they're clean. I'm going to clip the hair out of the face, out of your way. I'm going to take my triangle parting. A pulling board. Keep the hair clean. Lots of tension. I know I said it one other time, but you want to make sure that you're going to discharge your brush down towards the middle section, and then work your way up. Just Just remember, with whatever technique you're doing, just make sure that if, the client wants blonder on her face, use a technique that's going to give her that, because that is going to be the one thing they see. Now that I've got that up there, I'm going to actually show you, this is the blur brush. You're going to actually hold it. I hold it like a blush brush, and I actually just go in a circular motion. You want to keep moving, and that's going to blend it and give you that color melt as well. You want to keep a towel beside you when you use this, because you do want to clean this off. It does get product on it and it will stay. You don't want to add more to what you just put on there. You want to blend it. You're going to make sure you saturate the ends once again. Make sure you have all your product, not too much on there, just a nice even coverage. And drop it. Keep your brush clean. Make sure you don't have lightener flying everywhere. You don't want to get it on Miss Susie's face. If you don't have the rectangle angle brush, some people do use other sizes. They would just place it and lightly stroke the product on. But I do highly recommend the angle brush. It does help so much. And then we're going to move to our last section, and I am going to do 2 separate pieces for this one. Make sure they're clean. I'm actually going to move my mannequin down a little bit more. I'm not quite tall enough. And tilting, having your client move their head around makes life so much easier. Don't tend to have an issue with that. I'm gonna put this up here. Hold it tight. A little bit of product on your brush. You're gonna discharge. Move your brush, working up, constantly moving your hand. It's gonna give better melting effect, so to speak. Saturate your ends. And move on to your last section. Once again, when you take your triangle, make sure you get a little bit from the face, if that's what your client is wanting. Most do. Pull it tight, make sure it's clean, not lumps in it. And move your brush. Constantly moving in a sweeping motion. And you're going to move on to saturating your ends. Okay, so that is the demonstration. We're going to actually let her sit and process. I typically just watch to see what the color's looking like, a pale yellow or so, depending on how light they want to go. Depending on how their hair lives, if they have previous color on there, or if you're lifting through something, or if it's natural, they may want to be warmer or more of an icy blonde. I actually then follow that up with a glow. Okay, so while Miss Susie's processing, I'm actually going to go over the post-treatment that I'm going to use on her. So once the color's processed, we're going to rinse her hair. We're going to actually use Redken's chemistry system. The one I'm going to use is going to be the Color Extend. It's in this bottle right here. It's Shot Phase is written on it. So the benefits of the Color Extend, it offers color protection, and they do balance the pH level of the hair. I do recommend using the chemistry system after every client that you do. Does not have to be color treated at all. The how to use it. So you're actually going to shampoo. I'm going to use Color Extend Magnetics. This is the new sulfate-free shampoo and conditioner. There is Color Extend, but this is the newer one. It's sulfate-free. They do come in liter sizes, and then they do come in retail sizes. They do also have pumps for the liters, so it's easy to get the product out. Okay, now you're going to apply 3 pumps of the Chem Shot. So what I typically do is I put 3 pumps into this bottle right here. This is the chemistry bottle. Sometimes my client may need a couple different ones. They have extreme, they have all soft. There's several different ones you can choose from, and you can mix them together depending on what you need. Okay, so once you've applied 3 pumps of the Chem Shot on the hair, you're going to work it in really well. You're going to leave it on for 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes is up, you do not rinse it. You're going to select the appropriate shot fix. There's a 3.5 and a 5.5. 3.5 is going to be your chemically distressed hair, and 5.5 is going to be the mechanically stressed hair and scalp. In this case, I'm going to use the 3.5 shot fix. I'm going to spray 10 to 15 pumps over the Chem Shot. I'm going to work it in really well, and then I'm going to rinse it out. You can follow that with an appropriate conditioner. It depends on the integrity of the client's hair and if they need to have more moisture in the hair once you're finished.
Hey guys, we're back. The salon is open, so excuse the background noise. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've actually shampooed Miss Susan's hair. As you can see, we have done a Chem Shot like we talked about yesterday. The next thing I'm actually going to go over is your styling tools. I use the Sambia blow dryer with the wider nozzle. He does have 2 nozzles. This is the smaller one, and this is actually the larger one. This does cover more of the brush and the hair when you're blow drying, so it does cut down some time. This is Sambia's blow dryer. It's wonderful, has great power, and it gets the job done. The next thing is actually going to be the paddle brush. I do wrap blow dry, which will go over just a few. It does give it a smoother look, and it does give it some movement so it's not blown in one direction. So this is the paddle brush I'm going to use. I actually use a Marcel curling iron. I'm going to use a 1 inch today. Marcels are very good when you need to wrap the hair, give it more of a beachy wave effect, but I'm actually just going to do some barrel curls with it. And the last thing is you can use a round brush. I'm not going to use it today, but I do like Sambia's ceramic brushes. They come in 4 different sizes. They are wonderful for smoothing, body, curl, any of that good stuff. You can use it for everything.
Okay, so next we're actually going to go over our products. We're going to do, the first thing I'm going to apply is the Pill Approved Blow Dry Primer. This actually cuts your blow dry time. It protects your hair up to 450 degrees, and it does have an anti-breakage formula in it. So you see it's separated into 2 separate liquids. So we're just going to shake that up really well, and we're going to apply it really well to the hair. Make sure you get it sprayed on there good. I use this before 99% of my clients. Okay, the next thing we're going to use is Redken's new product, One United 25 Multi-Benefit Spray. It comes in this bottle. This is actually the back bar size. This does include, but it's not limited to, detangling. It helps even out the porosity of the hair. It primes the hair for styling, and it does have 22 other benefits. So I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to spray it really well through the hair. Make sure you get it nice and good on there. And then I just go through with my comb, Sambia's, and I'm going to make sure I get that brush through the hair really well. Okay. The next product I am going to apply on her hair is going to be the new product Stay High 18. This one is fairly new too. I believe it came out March of 2015. This product is really good. It gives you your runway ready volume, and it gives you long lasting fullness. I find it gives shine, it's very bouncy, it's not very hard. When you actually put this on the hair, it's going to come out
as a gel. And as you rub it together and activate the product, and add some heat to it, it's actually gonna turn more into a mousse. It is very creamy, it is not sticky. I'm gonna start applying this at the ends and work my way to the top of the hair. You don't wanna start this at the scalp because then you're gonna have way too much product and you're gonna have to start over. Alright. Once I get that in the hair, I'm going to take my comb once again and I'm going to brush through the hair and make sure I get this evenly spread out. And find my part. And when we come back, we're going to blow dry. Now we're going to actually blow dry her. We're going to do a wrap blow dry. When you wrap blow dry, you're going to have to keep your nozzle and blow dryer away from the brush. If you get too close, you can damage it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna wrap it one way and dry it. If you move slower, it'll dry more. And then I'm actually gonna come back the other way with it. That's gonna give it the movability and the flexibility to have a lot of movement in it. And then for volume up top, I'm actually going to take the first few rows and just lift. Once again, I'm keeping my blow dryer away from my brush. I'm going to keep it moving. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've actually sectioned her off from back to front and did down her part line. We're going to curl her with our Marcel curler. I'm going to take larger sections because I want my curls to be a little larger. Not so tight. Once again, make sure your sectioning is clean so you have an easier workspace. So we're going to take it, I'm going to open it, and we're going to actually turn and constantly move. You don't want to leave a band in the hair. Let it set for a second. Sometimes I do apply clips in here just to hold the curl in, but I want more of a loose curl, so I'm actually just going to let it hang and cool. Do another one. I'm going to take it, barrel on top, clip on the bottom, turn as I close, feed it through. I'm going to work both the sides and then the back, and we'll be back to show our final look. Okay, so now that I've actually finished curling the hair, I actually run my fingers through, kind of break up those curls once it's cooled. As you can see, it's not really tight, they're just very flowy. Then I'm going to take my Triple Take 32 hairspray. This is also a new product from Reckin. Has a 24-hour control and humidity resistance, and it also is a maximum control hairspray. So we're going to actually take this. What I do typically is kind of depending on the look I want. Today we're going to separate the curls a little bit. I'm going to twist and spray. This spray has got 3 holes in it, so it's actually going to wrap around the hair strand as it sprays on it, and it gives it that control. And you can actually, I use it more for finishing, especially for curls, because it just holds it where I want to without being stiff and crunchy, so to speak. So I'm just going to go through and twist. Okay, once I'm done with that, we're going to look at our balayage and ombre. So, like I said yesterday, let me move this.
Miss Susie came in and wanted a natural look, so we actually did some balayage, which is going to give her a nice little highlighted look on top, down to a little bit of a heavier, lighter bottom. And that is our completed look. Now, as we said before, we went over today why I chose Redken. We went over ombre balayage with your tools and techniques, your pre and post treatments, and your styling with your tools and products. Thank you for watching my video.